Hello there, it's Josh here from Racing to Profit. This video preview looks at today's race in focus, the Royal Hunt Cup Heritage Handicap, the easiest race on the card, I thought, only the 30 runners. It is, of course, a bit of a minefield, but hopefully I can build on yesterday's 10-1 winner in the Ascot Stakes, which was the race of focus on day one. These races are a unique test. There are not many of them like this throughout a season. The pace and the relentless gallop and the number of runners does tap into something unique and can bring out the best in certain horses. I've tried to focus on those runners that have kind of still unexposed and will hopefully prove themselves to be ahead of their handicap mark, but at the same time those that have ran well in similar conditions, either at the track or similar big field handicaps. So if a horse that hasn't demonstrated a liking for these conditions as yet does step forward, which is possible, it's highly likely I haven't landed on the winner. The first thing to say is pace. I'm on the excellent ggs.co.uk, which are the best racing cards in the business, without a doubt in my mind, but that's an aside. There is plenty of pace here. Three of the selections, which I'll get onto in a moment, I've generally gone with kind of low drawn, middle to low, or certainly in the kind of third of runners, which are probably run up the far side. Yesterday gave the impression that there may be a an actual track bias. John Gosden gave the impression with some views that he thought it was running better on the far side. If you look at the race that the commentary that Calix won, however you pronounce his name, that run can probably be marked up. He's clearly a machine. He had some good horses behind him on his side, but they were thumped. I mean, he thumped his side, but the rest of his side was so far back the other side, which kind of then filled the places from memory. That wasn't a handicap, of course. It could be there is just a pace bias, and there isn't a track bias at all. That will be confirmed, I think, after this particular race. You can see here with the pace, Zhu Feng and Love Dreams from low will get on with it. Arkanda's in 21, kind of in the middle or thereabouts. Mukhertal may get on with it, but first run in a while. There are then some pace pushers. Flaming Spear is low, but first runs, it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. The majority of the pace does seem to be low, so it'll be interesting if that combined with the pace bias actually means you want to be low. Of course, at this stage, it's hard to say what the jockeys will do and whether they have a kind of bias in their own minds and therefore try and go one way or the other, or whether there'll be three groups and a group coming up the middle. We shall see. But that's the pace. The draw generally over this course and distance is fairly fair, as you can see there. You can kind of get winners and placed horses from all over the park in terms of the pace there. It has been better, as you can see, from the win percentages from the 23 or so races in this sample to be kind of low or high, and middle is a bit tricky, but that doesn't mean it's not impossible, as you can see here with the various different draws. So yeah, with that kind of preamble said, let's have a dive straight into the selections. The first one is Raising Sand, who was 20-1 or so. You can see there he's a pretty consistent horse. It's his form at the track which is interesting. He's had 5 runs at Ascot, 4 wins. He's won twice over the course and distance. He has a touch of class about him. This race looks perfectly set up for him, really. I found it intriguing that Jamie Spencer is booked for the ride. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but he rides this particular course and distance better than anyone else in the game. You can see these stats here. All runs over 8 furlongs at Ascot. He's generally better on the straight track, but this will include those around the round course as well. 44 rides in the last 5 years, 8 wins, 18 places, plus 59 points to SP, plus 59 quid if you'd have put a pound on each. The each way profit and loss you can see there. Those stats are just mad, really. And this is simply because of his style. I remember watching an interview with him on Channel 4 Racing a few years ago. His MO generally in fields and races like this, and maybe generally in all types of races is to settle a horse and to get them racing in their rhythm. That is generally why he will hold them further back the most, and will frustrate some punters, including myself, every now and then. But his aim is to get the horse relaxed and settled and going their own pace, so that they have energy for the finish and they are doing all of their best work late. It is because of that approach that those stats here on this particular course and distance are so good. If you look at the handicap stats, they're just silly. You can back Spencer in 8 furlong handicaps at Ascot blind, I think, until the day he retires. 25 rides in 5 years, 7 wins, 13 places. A very good each way angle indeed, and backing all of his runners here each way. You can just see the winners there at prices in big fields. He just rides this track ever so well, and this course and distance in particular. So having him on here is a big positive. The horse has superb course and distance form. He just loves Ascot. He's drawn, I think, on the right side in terms of for pace. We can look at his trainer, Jamie Osborne, at the course. And generally look at his record with all runners at Ascot. Again, that's decent enough. He has big price ones show up. Look at his record in handicaps here again. Osborne in handicaps at Ascot is another angle that I think you can pretty much back blind, it would seem, over the last 5 years in particular. This horse is, of course, responsible for a few of those. If we look over 8 furlongs, he's had 5 runners here. He's had 3 winners and 3 places. Again, you can see those in big fields, so including one for Raising Sand. And one of those, as you can see there, had Jamie Spencer on. I should look at Osborne with Jamie Spencer. If we look at him with the jockey, you can see there in handicaps on the flat, when booking Spencer, 8 from 30, 14 places. That's pretty good. 2 from 4, 3 places over 8 furlongs, 3 from 7 at the track. So clearly he'll now tail off, having gone through all of that. But he would be my most bullish selection in this, I think, by, well, yes, he just would. The question, the one niggle, the unknown to a point, is the going. It's going to be fast here today. He actually ran well at Windsor on Good to Firm, as you can see there. And he ran okay here at the last day in the Victoria Cup, when I would like to think he needed the run. Given that, well, if we take the view that this may have been the target, he kept on. You know, there is a niggle about the ground, but he was 20 to 1. He's 16s generally as I speak. You can take a chance on that. I think, given all the other positives, he's a must for a race like this. So hopefully he runs a good race. And should reward some support with an entertaining run. It is Spencer. If you're going to back a Spencer ride at this track or in a field like this, clearly he might mistime it slightly. Clearly he might run into some traffic, but his style is suited, as you saw with all of those stats before, to this particular test. He's the best jockey in this race by some way, I would suggest, over this course and distance. We move on to Tricorn for John Gosden, who you will see in the race trends that I kind of looked through. They weren't too useful in helping me to shortlist for this race. There are some pointers. You can look at the general profile. This one is lightly raced. It's John Gosden, who is clearly on fire after day 1, and you would think is worth following through the rest of the week, and may have another big price, or hopefully might have a big price winner or 2 pop up. The bit of form, going back to what I said before earlier about wanting a lightly raced horse that hopefully is still not fully reached its ceiling in terms of handicap mark, but at the same time has some experience in conditions. You can see that a decent third, beating 2 lengths on the other side of the track to where the winner came from. So they may have, sorry, no, that's a lie. He was on the right side of the track for where the winner was. He chased Bless Him Home. That bit of form is solid. I don't therefore have an issue about big fields, cavalry charge, this course, this distance, or indeed the going. So that was what I pinned quite a bit of hope on. You will see here, I would like to think he needed the run here, but in any case, it was soft ground, and I would like to think that didn't suit him, and that was the reason for that poor run. It could be that he is just not in form, but we get 20 to 1, 22 to 1 to pay to find out. Hopefully a return to this big field and the ground will see him to better effect. And what else do I want to say? Yeah, Gosden, as you can see from the kind of the trends and some of the trainer pointers on one part of the free post, does have a decent record in this, has a couple of winners in the last 20 odd years or so. And as we can see, he's in form. The jockey, James McDonald from Down Under, actually has an okay record at the track. That isn't too bad given how competitive the racing is. 1 from 13, 5 places in handicaps at the course. And he has run and ridden some okay horses in big fields here, as we can see. So hopefully he can do a job for us. The other thing I will say is the blinkers return. What was I just going to say? Yes, Newmarket, he was a bit poor there, in fairness. But like I said, in context, that this may have been the plan. Nottingham was his second run after a break, sorry. But again, hopefully the ground was the issue then. If you watch that video back, the jockey didn't exactly give him a hard time, and I think realised he was beat on the going some way out. The horse also gets first-time blinkers, and Gosden does have a decent record when applying first-time blinkers for the first-time blinkers, I should say. The horse is the right age. 4-year-olds have generally dominated this race from the stats you can see, but all the horses can take it. So that's Tricorn. He is the only one that I've kind of gone 23. It's interesting. McDonald might stay high, I suppose, but he will have the chance. It wouldn't be impossible if he thought to be low was best that he does switch him. He's in a draw where he can possibly just get away with doing that. It will be interesting to see. He might come up the middle. Who knows? But for those reasons stated, I thought he had a decent chance. And hopefully he can run a big race. What is the other one that I'm going to focus on down the bottom? Kesa Soze, or however you say this name, for Richard Spencer, who is in form. This is another lightly raced horse. There should be more to come. You know my kind of MO with these now. I'm looking for horses with this kind of profile, with form in a big field cavalry charge. This run at Newmarket, decent enough, fourth, and he clearly needs further, I think, than he did then. But you will see the horse that won that, Accidental Agent, who won yesterday. And actually, as I say that, I'm remembering things as they come along. If you look at Raising Sand, some of his form, there's a race in particular where he was very close to Accidental Agent, who we know went and won a big Group 1 yesterday for Eve Johnson Horton. Well done to Connections there. I should think she's stopped crying by now and is enjoying the moment. Anyway, yes, so he's got some big field form. He's got form or experience of Ascot. Clearly, this run wasn't too good. It could be that he doesn't like Ascot and he doesn't like the track, but I can forgive him one run. That Newbury run was decent. Again, more big field form. It could be this is the kind of horse that excels in a big field cavalry charge. That's the hope. He returned to Ascot the last day over 7 furlongs. He blew the start somewhat, 6 lengths behind. Spencer didn't give him a hard time, but he was the last to really come off the bridle, and he kind of made his way through the field. But by that point, the winners had gone. He had to probably use up a bit too much energy, but he stayed on well enough. He wasn't given a hard time at all. And the hope is that this 8 furlongs here and the fast pace will be right up his street. I don't think the ground can be used as an excuse. It should be fine on good to firm. I found it interesting that Jamie Spencer jumps off. It could be that Osborne has really wanted him and has made the case and the plea. It could be that he's been jocked off by Richard Spencer, or Jamie Spencer indeed had the chance. But if we look at his record with Tom Queally, that is decent enough. They've teamed up 18 times, 4 wins and 7 places, including wins. And actually, in fairness to Tom Queally, he does ride this track fairly well, as we can see here. That's a decent enough record given how competitive the racing is at this course. 3 from 49, 6 places in handicaps. Not too bad. If we look at over the distance, 1 from 9, 3 places on the day that a son of Frankel Cracksman may light up the show. It may be fitting that his Frankel's former jockey, Tom Queally, can win the big handicap on the day. Richard Spencer is in form, as we can see there. 3 from 15, 6 places the last 14 days. The horses are going well. The horse looks like this kind of trip and test may suit him. He does have to prove his stamina. I think that Newbury run was decent enough, but the hope is that he will. He has tried the trip, and the hope is that he may improve for these exact race conditions. I move on to Kinran, who I've got my eye on. I think he's got a big handicap in him this year. He is worth tracking. This horse, bless him, does not know how to run a bad race. 6 runs in his career. He's yet to finish outside of the money. You can see here that he's got big field handicap form. He ran it well at Sandown in a race that may not have been run to suit. He was a bit further back than ideal. Chief of Chiefs was generally up in the vicinity or made a move earlier. That was decent enough form, I think. The one big question for him is the going. He has won on Good to Firm at Carlisle in a maiden. Going in maidens is deceptive because class can get you a long way. They may not have got much of a pace there. That's Carlisle is uphill, so it doesn't put so much pressure on through the legs. And it may be that he actually does want soft, as you can see from that profile. Connections pulled him out of the Victoria Cup, siding the ground. It could be this horse is made a non-runner. But if he takes his chance, I can only think they think it's okay, or the horse at least won't damage himself on it. To keep him away from Good to Firm if you think it might jar him up and he doesn't want it at all, to then run him in a race like this would be doing a disservice to the horse. But I'm educated guesswork here because of that win on the maiden, and he hasn't run on Good to Firm since. You then have to make an assessment whether you think the price allows that chance. Given his consistency, given that I think he might just relish this particular set of race circumstances, I thought I would take a poke. He's in the tracker. I would track him. It could be that he comes alive in September, October when there's soft ground again, but I'm sure he's got a big 7-8 furlong cavalry charge in him, maybe back at the Northern track. We shall see, but I thought he was of interest. Clearly, it's highly likely that I may not have even mentioned the winner. It's very hard for the top 5 in the weights to win this race. They have quite a poor record. Zhu Feng is going to give it a good go. He won this race last year. I would like to think something else is better handicapped than him, but I wouldn't be shocked if he placed. But I'd like to think something with his weight and his mark will overhaul him and have a bit more in hand come the death. Those of interest also made my shortlist. Fark was interesting. The Hills horses, they're in a bit of an iffy stage. They're not exactly hot, as you can see from those stats there in the last 14 days. His stats at the track could be better as well, as you can see. Jim Crowley doesn't have the best of records here in certain race conditions. But this horse comes here in form. He does have big field form to a point. He's got form or experience of the course and distance. And he arrives here on the back of a win. So I wouldn't be shocked if he outran his odds, but a few things nil with that, mainly kind of the trainer form, the jockey a little bit. But clearly I won't be shocked if he runs a big race. And I suppose that run here last year, I was trying to think of reasons he should improve on that from kind of, what is he, 8, 9, 10, 11 pounds higher mark. But he may do. He's only 4, he's progressive. I won't fall off my seat if he runs a big race. Bless Him was the other one. Ocean Murphy doesn't have a great record here. And well, he's 0 from 16, 0 places in 8 furlong handicaps at Ascot. This one is £10 higher from when winning here last year, when there may well have been a track bias. And he hasn't really done much since. Again, he may be another where the ground was an excuse last time out. It was also his first run of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a big race here, and I might have some change on him at Betfair SP. He would be an annoying winner. He might be, I think, on the right side for pace, etc. And he might just bounce back in this big field cavalry charge. Good to Firm ground. I wouldn't fall off my seat there. But he does need to step forward from his £10 high mark and kind of prove it this year after a couple of poor runs since. But like I said, there may have been an excuse the last day. But I fancied, I can't tip and back everything in this race. And the other 4 at the prices looked a bit more interesting to me. But him and Afak may run big races. And the other one I was going to mention, who was that? Oh, yes, Firmament. He's probably a solid each way bet, but he doesn't win too often. But you can see here as you flick down, he just does have decent form at the course. He has yet to win, as you can see, and in the end that did put me off. But you can see the various different placed efforts. He's rarely run a bad race in the big field here. Back up to 8 furlong may be his thing, but he will need plenty of luck. He is held up. He might be on the wrong side, he might not. And he is more exposed than many in this, and I think some may have a bit more in hand, but he is the solid handicapper in this. His mark is back down to a level that he can win from. We saw how well Lord Glitters ran the last day. So Firmament is another interesting one. So I've gone with 4, Raising Sand, Tricorn, Caister Soze, Kinran, and those other 3 that would really annoy me if they were to win, because I was close, and those kind of 7 made up my shortlist of a Fark, Bless Him, and Firmament. So it's likely, as I said, that I may not have even mentioned the winner. If you fancy something else, best of luck. I think we'll all need plenty of luck in this. You can make bits and pieces of case for plenty in here. Maybe I'll just leave you with the Instant Expert, another brilliant feature of GDs. And if I go on the handicap stats, you may want to pause this video at this point. Maybe you can see the win stats for all the horses against the going class, of course, the distance and the field size. You can see their handicap marks in relation to their mark today against their last win. As you go down there, you can see Bless Him does show up quite well. And that's that really. Use that as you please. As I tick around the 21, 22 minutes, I think that's covered. I can't mention every horse in this race. Hopefully I've mentioned the winner. Hopefully one of the 4 main fancies does the job. But best of luck with whatever you go with and whatever you fancy. That's my run through of the Royal Hunt Cup for 2018. We shall see if any of my pins land on the winner. But with whatever you go with, best of luck and enjoy the show. This is Josh saying bye for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.